All right, Coach B, what's good, man? Tony Blauer, welcome to the summit.
Dude, how are you? I'm so excited to help out. I'm kind of like a little blown away some of the names you got there. I was like, wow,
Me too.
but I don't feel like I should be in that list. Is what I'm saying. Is like,
Now, the whole premise of why I reached out to everybody, former podcast guests, new acquaintances, friends, just I was really trying to be strategic with who has like a niche area of expertise
right,
that I think is very relatable, very necessary right now to all walks of life, really, to in-person business owners, online owners, coaches, experts, thought leaders, just human beings who are also going through this global pandemic right now that
right.
have a unique area of expertise that I want to just continue to pick your brain on and share it with the masses. So that was it.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because you've interviewed me a couple times, and one of the themes I always talk about is that no matter what you're doing, whether it's self-defense or self-reliance, whether it's personal development or professional development, an under an underpinning and recurring theme in everything that we do is our relationship with fear. And I'm doing this hand gesture. I don't know what it is. I've never done it before, but it's like this balance, this metaphor for homeostasis and balance
Two
where
columns constantly kind of going at each other, yeah.
yeah, and it's like, should I do it? Should I not do it? And that's the doubt, hesitation, connection. In my background for 40 years is studying violence, right? So people know me as a self-defense guy, a coach, a trainer, a fear management specialist. And I think it's important for people listening that, one of my contentions is the ability to protect ourselves or a loved one is arguably the most important skill we could have. We live in a world where we're domesticated. We live in bubbles. We think the cavalry's going to rush in. And as a society, this pandemic has shown us that we've kind of gotten soft. And it's almost like, okay, everyone shut their business down, stop in, shelter in place. And for the most part, everyone, including the badasses, went, okay, I'll watch Netflix for a bit. I'll
True.
work.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's an interesting thing because we just assume the government's going to fix it. The doctor's going to fix it. The cavalry is again going to rush in. And if this goes on too long, you're going to say, well, wait a minute, I think I've run out of provisions. I don't have water. I don't have a generator. Do I have enough ammo? Whoever you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do your provisions go? Yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, and you saw that there's people panicking buying toilet paper, right? You go to the supermarket, people getting over fights over the last, piece of meat or whatever.
Panic, really.
Say again?
Panic, really.
Right. And all of that like ties directly into my life's work, which is kind of interesting because as you know, I intuitively stumbled on this idea that fear throttles everything in the 80s, studying violence. And I come back to this equation that if I go, hey, uh, uh, dude, would you rather lose your guitar collection, your stamp collection, your car collection, your podcast feed, or your life, or your wife? It's like, what kind of stupid question is that? And like a lot of times we take better care of our possessions than we take care of our body. We take better care of
Unfortunately true. Yeah. I think for a lot of people.
And so I heard on a it wasn't a podcast. It was a meditation app I was listening to. King James from the Lakers, right? His real name's not King, of course, but LeBron. He brought up something that was really subtle, and I was very impressed by it. But he said, we all work on physical fitness, but we don't think about our mental fitness. And just the idea of mental fitness of what are the things I can do to train my brain. And
Yeah.
of course, some people do, and that's a big theme in Ever Forward is resilience and adaptation, and always working on stuff. But something that I think is central under all of that is this notion that we don't really have an optimal relationship with fear. That people are even afraid of the word fear. I do this when I'm having strategy sessions.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, when I do strategy sessions with like my business consultants, I'm going, hey, should we call this program No Fear, or should we call it, manifesting courage? Like,
Focus on
because
the positive, focus on the end result. Maybe people want like the
yeah,
happier
because
feeling. Yeah.
there's a stigma. But think about how ironic
Yeah.
this is. From a marketing perspective, you go do the A/B test and do the one that's going to get you the biggest audience. Let's say it was free, you still want the biggest audience. But I'm like going like, if you have an unconscious stigma for the word fear, when you actually feel fear, you won't attack it, you won't lean into it. And that's my message, is that if you change your relationship with fear, you change your life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and this scenario, the pandemic, has revealed those chinks in our armor for what it
Absolutely.
is. Right. So it's an interesting time for us all.
I mean, it is a very interesting time in a lot of ways, in terms of day-to-day living, in terms of how you work, how you interact, how you really do majority of things in your life, personally and professionally, but also the whole point, a big point of what we're doing right here, right now with this summit, is to highlight key areas that, look, we do have probably a little bit more time to work on certain things right now. We do have the ability, want to focus on the positive. We've been given the gift of time to maybe pick up a project we wanted to start forever ago, or to finally read a book, or to optimize ourselves and to work on these things that, we have the time and the space to do so now. So given the kind of parameters of day-to-day life right now, Tony, how can one work on their fear mindset? How can one develop a better relationship with fear in general, as well as fear maybe they're feeling right now?
Yeah. So great question, man, because everyone's offering tips like that.
Sure,
Right?
myself included.
Right. Now, let's say the proverbial listener is going, that's a great day, I'm going to read my book. But if while they're reading their book, they're also worried about their finances, they're worried about their business, they're worried about their elderly parents who live on the other side of the country, they're worried about what nonsense is going to be on mainstream media, what are they going to hear? Every one of those things are their little fear concepts floating around your head that can trigger a fear spike. And so part of our model, and I don't know if we have the opportunity to share. Can I share a fear map on the screen now? Can I do a screen share?
Oh, you know what? I think
cool?
because I'm the host here, I don't know if it'll do a screen share.
I can do it actually, but
you
check
can.
this out.
Yeah,
check
came
this
prepared,
out.
everybody.
I actually set this up for everybody.
Beautiful.
So, a couple of things that I'm not going to get too deep in this. You can see that, buddy?
This is perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So, a sudden stimulus creates this fear spike. And as soon as we get a fear spike, like you could, you're a fitness nut, let's say you could decide to go do some deadlifts.
Not anymore. Not anymore. I'm a walking nut and push-ups at home.
But so let's say you got a home gym and you got your weights and you go and you don't do the normal workout warm up.
Sure.
And you go to lift the weights and all of a sudden you feel something in your back, like as you're pulling the weight. So immediately the fear spike, and I'm using just a training stimuli for a moment, right?
Great.
You get this pain in your hamstring or your low back. Immediately a negative image is presented in your mind. It just flashes to like you in a hospital bed, or you on the ground writhing in pain, or you with an ice pack, or
worst case scenario. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it goes right to that. Like your tooth starts to hurt you. You don't think, oh, I'll go floss. You think root canal. Our brain, if you're a normal person, you go, if you're like as a parent, if my kids are really late, I immediately go to some like a holy shit scenario. And then I reverse engineer back to, they're just late. And so this is a normal thing. But when we understand what the brain does, we actually can detach a little bit and we move from a more emotional response into a more cognitive executive function response. So this is a little map that I drew. It's part of our No Fear course. And it's like the fear loop is made up of negative images, negative neuro triggers. That could be, if I think of like you're in a bar, you got a beer. Remember the days we could go to bars, the old days, the good old days.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, we're telling our graduates, back in the day, you could actually go out in public and talk to people.
Tony, I've actually heard a new descriptor for where we are right now. People are already beginning to refer to this, or things before this, as BC, before Corona, before COVID. We're in a new BC. It's pretty wild.
I hope not, but I get it. So just to whip through this super quickly, these are all things, and it's important. The first thing, get a fear spike, is we visualize something bad. Then we start looking for these neural triggers to support that. These are just how our brain links up a symbol. Yeah, that's hurting here. That last time I did this, I slipped the disc and I was in bed and none of that has even happened. But all of these erroneous beliefs start to culminate. And you may already have erroneous beliefs from how you were raised, to some shitty coaching, or, whatever, just things that you hold to be true. What starts to happen there is the negative self-talk, where you're like, oh man, I'm screwed. I can't afford to be laid up right now. If I get sick, I'm done. And we start motivating or motivating ourselves through a negative. All of that creates this next 4 blocks are critical: the doubt, hesitation, fixation block. We've talked about this before in the show. Doubt creates hesitation. Hesitation creates fixation. And if we don't have the self-awareness to extract ourselves from fixation, that produces anxiety. And the anxiety here isn't necessarily clinical anxiety. It's like, I call you up and I'm like, dude, what's going on? What's happening? And you're like, nothing. And I can see on your body language this malaise, this, like, you're stressed. You're still functioning. You're still functional. But you're stressed. And so I'm going to show a couple other charts there, but I wanted to pop out there and go, when we get the fear spike, we create almost this like tic-tac-toe domino effect that goes, and that visual that I shared with you can happen like in a nanosecond.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I did a social experiment on a podcast yesterday, where I was coaching somebody through a fear loop, and it was a one-on-one. And I leaned in, and they had shared with me some of their concerns with health, family, and stuff like that. And I leaned in and I said, hey, this is how fast this movie in your mind starts. And the movie in your mind metaphor here is this: you get a fear spike and this movie starts. And I use the acronym false expectations appearing real. False expectations appearing real for fear. And what that means is I'm visualizing a future event where I'm in trouble, I'm losing, I'm in pain, I'm done. It's a future event, and it's such a negative image, it's immobilizing me in the present. And that's what a lot of people are suffering with right now, is they're doing what if this, and oh my God. And it's draining all their energy and their positivity and their creativity right now. So this comes back to, I'll read a book today. But if you've got this like unconscious, subconscious, or even, semi-conscious thought of you can liken this to any time you're trying to do a task, but you're distracted. So you put the book down and you pace, and then you write some notes, or you turn off the movie because you thought the movie was going to distract you. Yeah. Then you can't get into it. So what's going on there is what's happening is in your brain is hyper focused on this fear loop. And you asked me, well, how do we create this, go from uncertainty to endurance? How do we change this paradigm? And part of it is understanding comfort zone, discomfort zone, and what I lovingly refer to as the holy shit zone. So I'm going to share.
Some of you may be there now,
right?
Or tomorrow,
right? And so, well, that's the whole thing. Is one of the things that I do want to share really, really interestingly is I posted this in our newsletter yesterday. I said there are no weekdays for me. There are no more weeks for me. There's no more weekends for me. There's no months. What there is today and tomorrow. Just today and tomorrow. I work in 48-hour blocks. I have a list of things that I wanted to do today. I bust my ass to do them. I review that list, and now I'm going to do that tomorrow. Because information and news can change so quickly.
That's where I think most people should be right now too, Tony. I'll say really day by day, things change all the time. Day by day is where our task list, where our mindset needs to be.
Right on. I dig it. So let's go back to this here, because I hope your viewers and everyone who's watching this sees this as a strip map for your mind. And what this is a way, like I metaphorically go, if I drop you into the jungle and you don't have any idea where you are and you don't know land nav, you might just sit down under a tree or against a rock, and that's where you give up because you don't know what direction. So what this is if when I tell people, look, you're in the fear loop and it's in your mind and you're visualizing something negative that hasn't even happened, that's interfering literally with your ability to detach and think critically about what you need to do and make those, whether they're the truth. Right. And so here's another very useful map. To the left, we see our comfort zone. So if I say to you, like I just did a podcast with a friend of mine who's, former military, special operations, decades in. Like I said to him, I said, bro, like when they did the shutdown, what did you change? And he's like, absolutely nothing. He had water, generator, food, go bags.
Oh yeah. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. That's for damn sure.
Right. Exactly. Right. Say that again for the audience. They might not have heard that.
Stay ready. You don't have to get ready. And this conversation, this whole day is exactly how we want to help people stay ready now and for the future.
Right. And so, the joke I made, he said, how you doing? I said, well, I wish I had prepared for the pandemic before the pandemic. So, it's this idea of like, we don't want to be reactive. So to the left on here is our comfort zone. So, people who are ready, it's like, oh, wow, that sucks that happened, but I know what to do. I proceed. If you're in the discomfort zone, so this is now an experience outside the norm, you get a fear spike, but then you know what to do. So you can imagine every first responder, emergency services, nurses, doctors, they've had critical incident management training. They've had biotech lectures. They've had infectious disease lectures and stuff like that, but they've never had a pandemic. All of them had a fear spike, but they all put on their masks, put on their eye protection, put on their gloves, took a gulp, and they went towards the danger.
Get to work. The same thing in the military. That's why we do training. That's why we do live fire training. That's why we do these things, so that you get to develop a more, I hate to say positive association, but familiar association to that fear spike, and better know how to manage it next time, because it's not a matter of if, but when for stress in general.
Right. What I've done with this program, and it took me decades to put it together, initially was based on the research in the 80s, is there's a lot of models out there where people just are more, they say things like, you just need to do this. And what I wanted to do is, in a non-academic way, a non-technical way, is give people language like holy shit zone, right? Everyone laughs when I share that. And
we all know what that means. We all know what that feels like.
Bro, when I do our courses, like this information doesn't appear all at once, right? I'm condensing it now because I'm trying to like share stuff quickly and sprinkle magic dust for your audience. But it's like, we do on the whiteboard, we go, hey, comfort zone are things that you're good with, right? Like, is brushing your teeth in your comfort zone? Yes. Now, let's say you were, think back to when you were a child and you were losing your baby teeth and your adult teeth. When your teeth first started to get loose, that was painful and scary. Yeah. Now, suddenly brushing your teeth is in your discomfort zone because you don't know what's going on. And then your parent says, oh, that's okay, your tooth is coming out. If suddenly, if you've ever, working out or training, broken a tooth and had an exposed nerve, like the pain is crazy. Now you're in your holy shit zone. It's like, stay away from my mouth. So I can show you in a simple cartoony example where it's like, hey, let me see you smile, brush your teeth, comfort zone. Oh, you know what? I got a loose tooth. Be careful there, discomfort zone. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I manage it. And then all of a sudden, root canal, broken tooth, And again, I'm just giving something that people can like
Yeah.
imagine and go,
The
wait a
spectrum
minute.
of that
Yeah.
experience. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
so what's interesting is you can go from a perceived, I'm okay with this, and then suddenly somebody changes a dynamic and you're in
Yeah.
your shit zone. The key thing to remember here is when you're in the holy shit zone, you still get the same fear spike, but now it triggers the fear loop. So the fear spike is like if I say to you, Chase, what's the biggest audience you've ever talked in front of? Real question. Like live.
Live, 50 people.
Okay. So and you're very comfortable. Your number one fear in the world for most people is public speaking. That wouldn't be yours. You've gotten good at public speaking. So I'm used to doing groups of 50, of 100. And I remember doing something live years ago where I got called in. It was for the Airplane Pilots Association for Air Rage. This is before 9/11. And I'm going to come in and talk to pilots about calming down passengers and stuff like this. And I get invited by a pilot who I had trained, and he says, would you come in and talk to 50 of the directors from around the States and also at our conference? And I go, yeah, but I as a selective listener, like most of us, I heard the number 50. So it's like 50 people. Good. I get there. The conference has 500 people. The workshop is 50 of their regional directors.
Wow.
I talk to them, and then they're like, okay, so you'll go say a few words at the conference, which was in another room. I walk in the room and there's 500 people, and it's a live feed for
There's
CNN.
that spectrum from toothbrushing to loose tooth to busting your shit open.
bro, I literally called my wife, Jessie, and I said to her, I got to have like a headset on a live feed, CNN, Fox, 500 people. And I was told I had 45 minutes to talk. And then they just came up to me and said, one of the speakers went late. Can you do 20? And so my heart is racing. I've got butterflies in my stomach. I called her up and I said, I'm freaking out. And I'm like, I love talking. I'm like, but she says, you'll be fine. Don't worry. Just start talking, like, and I go, no, you don't understand. Like, this is 500 people live. Like, I've never done that before. So what I want everyone to think about here is I know my material. If you look at my hands, I don't know if you can still see me. I got no notes on my hand. I know my material. I know how to talk.
Yeah.
I know how to emote. I care about people. I care about my information. I think it has value.
You've taken time to understand your comfort zone, discomfort zone, and holy shit zone.
Right.
How to walk yourself through it.
Because this was a stimulus that was introduced too quickly,
and
I didn't have time to adapt, I was in the holy shit zone. And even though I was the guy that created the cycle of behavior, the neural circuitry of fear, I was still victimized by my own thoughts of fear. And I had
even the fear pros get stuck sometimes too, people. Well, it's human nature.
This is the biggest message. This is the biggest message, my friend.
Let's wrap it up here, brother.
The biggest message here about no fear. Like if you look at my t-shirt, it's not no fear. It's no fear. If I change my relationship with fear, I change my life. And what I realized is this, and by the way, the talk went great as soon as I started going.
No doubt.
But you've got to get through the fear loop. You've got to recognize I'm in the fear loop and I got to get out of the fear loop. And so the simplest, without us spending like 4 or 5 hours and doing a workshop, the biggest thing that I can tell you is this: if you need to solve problems, you can't become one. You're not going to solve a problem if you're also the problem. And while you're wallowing in the fear loop, whatever it is, that's why I share this. There's a way out of it. And I know we got to wrap, but I'm hijacking the call because I got to show just one thing because it's just too important. You've seen it before.
Information not to share, right?
But right. So here, this is the actual cycle of behavior, and you can get this online. And I'm going to show you, like, in all scenarios are green or like, yeah, this is fine. The lockdown will be fun. I'll get time. I'll read a book. I'll watch Netflix. I'll clean the garage.
Yeah.
And then somebody goes, right? Yeah, right. And then the news comes on and somebody goes, hey, this might go till the summer. And you're like, whoa, I don't have that much money in the bank. I'm going to lose my business. And these haven't even happened yet, but you've triggered the fear spike because a sudden stimulus was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're stuck in red. And the only way to get through the challenge or threatened door at the bottom and the gold line or the yellow line is the duress path. The duress path is while you're still carrying the weight of fear. Where we want to be is here. You can see the green line. The green line is like, I'm cool, I'm good. And what I show here, and I'm not going to do this justice now because I'm rushing out of respect for the time here, but it's so important that if you see this map as a hologram that you're always standing on, you can narrate. It's very potent. It's very powerful. You can narrate to yourself. You can say, wow, I'm a business leader. I now got to stand in front of my team and tell them we're going to be okay. But inside, I'm in the fear loop.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, we're going to pivot. We're going to do this. And now when I do it, I'm still worrying if it's going to work. So that's the duress path. And then you hit a certain stride, like you do a promotion, you do something that's successful, and you go to green. You're like, this is going to work. And then someone goes, hey, the internet's down. We can't run that. And you're like, oh shit, now you're back in the fear loop. And then it gets fixed. And now you're worrying, is it? And so this is a fascinating, again, that chart is online. People can look at and then access.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll have to share that out.
Yeah.
Tony, it's been awesome having you on, man. I mean, your expertise and experience with fear management, the psychology of fear. We did a live a couple of weeks ago that was very well received, and just I think honestly, people like you and me and everybody here in the summit bring such a unique area of expertise and insight to the world and daily living that I hope that shines through. It's been a huge value add to my life and content over the years. So I'll just say, honor the work that you've done. Thank you so much for your time today and in the past. And I'm going to have everyone's information, of course, listed here, but where can they find you real quick if they want to learn more about No Fear?
Yeah.
Is the website, social media, what's the best way to go?
I get on that, but I want to say one thing. You can't be brave if you're not afraid. Change your relationship with fear, folks. Embrace it. Instead of fear being the backseat driver going, you missed your turn, you're not going to make it, you're going to be late. Let fear be your co-pilot. And how you do that is by changing it. Like use it as an organic fear. Say, I'm going to make fear my fuel. And when I get a fear spike, I'm going to investigate it. I'm going to learn why did I get that fear spike? How do I move it from my holy shit zone to my discomfort zone, to my comfort zone, and learn from this? So there's going to be another, hopefully not a pandemic, another epidemic. And you go, you know what? I've done a rep of this. I'm prepared. It's going to suck. Yeah. And that's your immediate action training from the military that you experience, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyways, I'm all over, social media, just like you. It's just Tony Blauer. And, if we put up a website just during this pandemic called nofear.com, but we'll share that. And just remember that no fear is spelled KNOW, meaning I want to get to know fear.
Get to know it. Absolutely. Well, Coach B, it's been great having you on, man. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Appreciate the opportunity.